Welcome to the Purpose Podcast, where we help business owners and others live with intention. I'm Gordon.
And I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt, we've got a great guest today, something I'm very excited about.
Oh my goodness, I've been waiting for this one for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got Reagan of Garage Force and Regional Carpet Care.
Yes.
Not one,
Man
but
of many
two-time
talents.
business owner.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they're tied in together, so I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense that you would do both of those, and we'll dive into that a little bit. But Rich, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're the man, and we know you very well. You're our vice president of the group. You fill in for our fearless leader and hand model. Very even nice hands. I would say really nice hands. So maybe even nicer than Tim's. Potentially. I'm just
Jury's
saying.
still out. I don't know. We'll see.
I think this is a real argument that we need to have.
I think we should put them side by side and see
I do
who and
too.
cast a vote. Yeah.
I
don't
think
think has that ever been done before?
We should skip the meeting today and just do that.
Okay.
And we'll take votes.
Hey, I'm fine with that.
I love sending this down the wrong path. That's my main skill in life, I would say.
That's awesome.
So, Rich, again, we
Awesome.
appreciate you being here. We try to get to know everybody a little bit, and our guests or our viewers and listeners. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what Garage Force is and what Regional Carpet is and kind of what you do?
Yeah, well, I'll start with me as a person in my family. I'm a proud father of 6 kids.
Six kids.
I always tell people that out of the gate, get reaction. Now, I'm very thankful. They range from 5 years old to 19 years old, and they're my why. That's why I got into this business to begin with, and I've been married for 21 years now to Crystal, and it's just been it's an awesome life I get to live every day.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
But that was my why when I started Regional back in 2010. It was because we were expecting our 3rd child, and I was on the road a lot. With my previous career, I was either on an airplane or in a car 5 days a week, every single week.
Were you in sales?
I was in operations, but I was managing 7 states.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And it was a large janitorial company. I was a VP for that company, and it was a great life. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was at a high level. The money was great, but I remember coming home one weekend, and I had 2 boys at the time, and I'm like, I don't even know these kids, And I'm like, I started looking around at one of these conventions, and every one of these counterpart VPs were all divorced. And I'm like, this is not heading down a good path.
Yeah.
And the quality of life wasn't great. I mean, I enjoyed what I did because it was a high level, but family is everything. And you can't get those years back. And so I remember the day my wife, told me we were expecting our 3rd child, and I'm like, it just all clicked at once. I'm like, I got to get out of this. And so literally the week before my daughter was born, I exited that company.
Wow.
No real business plan, very little capital, an ego this big.
Yeah.
And
That's
we started.
very big for those listening and not watching.
It was a huge ego, and found out the first year or 2 was not a good thing going into this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there's been a big transformation for me from the inside out.
You got humbled pretty quick.
It's easy to take somebody else's company and sell more in vertical sales and expand relationships as a known entity. It's very difficult as an unknown entity starting out in a business, in an industry that's already got saturation. And so, when you have an ego with that, it just makes it worse. And at the time, I had a business partner who came with me that was working for me at the time. Neither one of us should have been in a partnership. He got, he had certain skill sets that didn't transfer over to an owner type. And I had, of course, no idea what I was getting into at the time. I just knew I needed to get out. And so that was kind of the beginnings of Regional Carpet Care.
Is there a reason that you chose to stay in the same industry as opposed to starting something completely different?
Yeah, at the time I thought, well, let's just pick one aspect of what I do. Janitorial services is all encompassing. So I was like, well, I know this. Let's just do this. I think it was more or less a comfort level at that point. I didn't really explore any other options. And again, very little planning going into this. I just knew I needed to get out. Which would prove to be not a good start for us. janitorial service is mostly commercial based. We started out as, we're like, let's just get away from that grind. Let's just do residential. I mean, we just totally flipped the switch. Residential carpet cleaning is very difficult.
Yeah.
And is very low as far as price point compared to a commercial.
It's a few $100s, right?
And I'm like, we came in at a time where they still had money mailers and things like that going out, coupon-driven people, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what did I get myself into?
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah. And I'm like, we realized real quick that this model wasn't going to work. And so we started going back towards what we knew, which was commercial relationships. But I traveled so much. Raleigh was one of our office areas, but like I didn't spend every day here. And so starting from scratch, building relationships, that's what took a little while.
Gotcha. And you started your own thing rather than a franchise, right?
Correct.
What are the challenges there that maybe you look back and like, oh man, that franchise thing was interesting, but there's positives and negatives obviously to both.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Garage Force for
right.
2 years now, and Dan Prendergast was the guy I worked with that from the Entrepreneur Source. He told me, it's a different model, it's a different thing, it's a different feel. You have to be one that can follow a system, and I think I convinced myself I could, and I can. I think sometimes you don't know what you're buying until you get into it.
Right.
Like you can do your diligence, you can look at the financials, you can meet the folks, you can talk to other franchisees, but everybody's different. Every market is different. And we kind of found out that maybe some of those financials were a little inflated.
Oh, yeah.
You can imagine that, right?
Yeah.
And so the projections, year one, year two, we just weren't going to be able to meet based on what they followed. So I thought outside the box. I just kind of went my own path, and it's been good. I mean, it's been a good ride. It was difficult in the first year, just trying to figure out their system and how.
For Garage Force,
yes,
specifically.
for Garage Force. But
Gotcha.
when we started regional, I mean, we didn't have the option to do a franchise. We didn't have the capital. And I'm glad we did it that way because it taught us what it was like to build something from scratch. It's something that, even though it was very difficult few years, I have more pride and joy in that from what we built. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. That's excellent. And so
that.
regional handles stuff in the triangle? Like, so what exactly do you guys do?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny, regional facility services was my dream. It was to become this huge. I'm a dreamer. And
You will never accomplish anything without a little ego and a little dream.
I think that has always kind of kept me fueled and going.
Totally.
But I had this dream of being a facility services company where you one-stop shop for electrical, HVAC, janitorial, floor maintenance, the whole 9 yards. And so we've kept that name from day one. Regional Carpet Care underneath of that does two things. We have a mostly commercial driven. We do about 30 hotels in the area, about 5 million square feet a year of floor maintenance.
Nice.
And then we do residential by referral. So we do, carpet cleaning, stretching, repairs. And then we have the concrete side on the commercial, which is going to be under regional, which is just taking off. We've hired a salesperson that has a commercial floor installation background. So now we'll be able to install in a commercial facility and maintain it. Hopefully
cool.
have
Both
developed
sides
that
of the spectrum,
relationship and have that long term. And then Garage Force, when we purchased that was coming out of COVID, guys. When COVID hit, I remember distinctly, March of 20 was a bad day for me. March 1st,
Yeah.
I was getting calls from all these hotels saying, look, Rich, we love you guys, but hey, we got to cut this off. We have no occupancy.
Yeah.
We lost 75% of our revenue that month.
Yep.
And we had to, I remember sitting down with my team. I'm like, look, I have no idea what's going on right now. We've never been through something like this before. I said, but I will do my best not to lay any of you guys off. I said, but we're going to have to think outside the box. We're going to have to do different things. And we just kind of stuck together as a core group. And I didn't lay anybody off. And
Nice.
we managed to weather that storm, so to speak. And Garage Force was one of those things. We wanted to get into concrete restoration for a long time. It's all glamorous, man. It's nothing better than taking ugly raw concrete and doing cool things with it.
Yep.
But that was really that drove that purchase of the franchise, was say, hey, we need to diversify. Let's get this done. Let's stop waiting. And so yeah, it's been an interesting ride. We're starting to filter it out. But I think at the end of the day, we've got regional facility services, and then each company underneath that umbrella will continue to operate as its own entity.
Do you have plans for other types of businesses you want to get involved?
I think the entrepreneurial side of me says yes. I just turned 50 in March. I don't know. I would say wherever the Lord leads, man. You know, I'm a big person on faith. I just kind of take every day in that direction. And but that big plan, that big dream, yeah, I would say there's probably going to be something else at some point. Yeah.
Can't let that fire die for sure. So obviously that was a great intro into folks who don't know you for knowing, and now that you're a family man, businessman. Where did you, I guess, your background or your family, your immediate family, I should say, start from? You said you worked across a couple, like 7 different states or so when you were with janitorial services. Are you from North Carolina?
No, I'm originally from Maryland.
Okay.
I grew up on the southern side, about 40 minutes south of Washington, D.C. Went to school at a small D3 school out called Frostburg out in the mountains. It was a great place to live at the time. It wasn't going to be a great place to raise a family. You know, I don't miss the snow. I don't miss the Beltway, the Capitol Beltway. I don't miss, we have seasons down here that you don't see up there as much. So
fair enough.
But because my wife's originally from North Carolina, we met at a wedding in Maryland, which was kind of funny. That is fun. One night, one opportunity to meet each other, and we did, and we did like the long distance thing for like 7-8 months, and it was good. But it was time for a change. She didn't want to stay up in Maryland. She was there for about a year, got homesick, and I'm like, yeah, let's just pack up and go. One thing you'll learn about me is I got this phrase called "burn it up." I don't really. There's just certain things I'll do. I'm just rock and roll, man. I don't overthink it. I'm just like, let's do it. I think life is too short, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a change. Let's do this, man. Again, no real plan. I had a job, obviously, so that was factored in, but I just said, let's do this, and it worked out nice. I mean, this is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to live, and seeing some of the changes and things going on. Yeah, it's been cool.
Gotcha.
Do you feel like the economy here has helped your business specifically, and do you feel like this was a good place? Do you feel like you just sort of lucked into being here and growing into that?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I was thinking about that on the ride in here, how blessed we are, because we're kind of resilient to some of the things that are going on around the country right now. I can't imagine some of these metro areas that are just getting hit so hard. I think even though we all feel it, it's not the same. And so, I think it's dumb luck. I think, I wanted to be here. This was the right place to be. But I think secondhand owning a business, we found out, man, this is a great place to have a business. It's a great place to build relationships. And it's the melting pot, man. We got people coming from all around moving here, different different backgrounds, different skill sets, things like that. And that's what I've enjoyed the most is that. And I like the Southern way of life, man. I moved down here thinking, man, biscuits and gravy, Southern hospitality.
It's hard to go wrong with
and
food.
It's hard to find that in some places now. But I love that we have become an area of diversity as far as that's concerned. So.
Awesome. Do you guys ever travel back and visit Maryland at all, or you guys stay?
Very rarely. My parents moved down here at the beginning of the turn of the century, and it's like, we just don't have a reason to. I plan to go up there in a couple of years to see some friends I haven't seen in a long time, but there's just so much going on down here, it makes it difficult.
Fair enough. Definitely got your hands full. What are some other things that you do outside of work when you have the time to not be? You were talking about earlier before we started. You have that switch where you're on when you're on and you're off when you need to be off. What does that look like when you're not on in business mode?
Yeah, family first, man. There's a lot going on there. I'm very fortunate to go out and play all day and do this business thing while my wife is at home homeschooling all of our kids.
Nice, great.
Tremendous respect for her and what she does. But, I've got some hobbies. I play guitar, not as often as I'd like to.
I saw you were selling.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little addicted. I got up to about 15 guitars at one point, which was cool. But yeah, I've downsized to what I think is going to be just a couple that I are going to hang on to forever. The dream of playing out again and doing, because I did that a lot when I was younger. It's gone.
Played in a band and stuff.
Yeah. when I was in 2013, I recorded and wrote a Christian music album, which was kind of like the pinnacle. I always wanted to record something. At that time, I didn't think it was going to be that genre, but loved the process, loved it, and I'm like, all right, let's go out and play. And I'm like, half my band, like, they all have families. They're like, we're not doing any of that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like we checked that box in life, and that was about it. But I like camping. We do some RVing.
Nice.
I like,
or like a bit of a caravan kind of setup, or how does that look?
So we have a fifth wheel. We typically just do it on our own.
Perfect.
And we have a 40 foot. That's the size I need to fit my family.
I was going to say,
in.
you fit everybody in there.
Oh
That's
man,
awesome.
it's a
8
mess.
people.
It's a mess. The oldest doesn't go with us now as often as I would like, but it's and then I like to ride Harleys. I kind of do what I feel like I want to do, depending on the weather, so to speak. But family is always going to be top priority for me.
Lots of games and
That's
stuff,
a
I'm
given.
sure.
Yeah.
Switching to networking a little bit, obviously this is a networking group, and that's how we all know one another. How has networking played a role in your business and in your life over the last 10, 20 years?
Coming from a guy that is an introvert, I would say a selective extrovert, it's the only way to build business, because I'm not going to pick up the phone and do cold calls. I think if it was the difference between the ability to put food on the table or not, I would. But that's not where I want to be. And networking allows me to build relationships with other like-minded people that I can trust. And not only to help our business grow, but I like serving, and I like helping others. That's kind of where I come from, an active service. And so it gives me the ability to watch other people become successful as well around me. And then, within our clientele, we have people that have needs, and it's so awesome to be able to say, well, I got a guy or I got a lady that can take care of that for you, and just know they're going to be taken care of. So networking is the most important decision I ever made. When I first started the company, I was probably in about 6 months, and I joined a B&I group. And I've never looked back. And some are better than others. You kind of got to have to filter through where you want to spend your time, because not every group of people is the same.
That's true.
I'm very thankful for P&G and the group of people that we have, because they're phenomenal people. But yeah, that's where for me, that is the key to building a business, is networking and building relationships.
What's your company's sales process now? So, I mean, it sounds like you guys have grown quite a bit. You're hiring salespeople. What's that team look like? What's that process look like for you?
Well, we just hired a first salesperson.
Okay.
So, before then, everything was me, right?
Yeah.
And it was all relationship driven. I feel like I'm good with people. I feel like because I come from my point is I come from a direction of how can I help you, not how much money am I going to make from this. And we look to build long-term relationships with clients. And I think if you start that direction, and then you provide the service you say you're going to do, you can't fail. But I realized I could only be in so many places at once, and we just were stagnant. We just couldn't get to that next level. And I'm like, we've got to hire somebody. And so Robin started about a month and a half ago. He's doing great. Comes from a commercial sales background for flooring installation. And so it's kind of cool how that kind of came together, because he's got existing relationships. And now all of a sudden we can, again, from start to finish, we can be with somebody, from installation to maintenance. And then when they're ready for installation again.
And this is that product you were talking about, the commercial flooring product, right? What was it again? Could you remind us?
Well, and so we got two different things we do with that. We do traditional flooring just like you would see everywhere else, LVP, carpet, those types of things.
This carpet
yeah.
in here.
So we can put that in commercial buildings. Okay. We got that expertise now. But a lot of people are switching over to polished concrete, things like you see out in retail spaces, stained concrete, things like that.
What's that?
You see out there, that's just polished concrete.
Okay.
Do a simple grind, put some epoxy down with the urethane top coat, and that is the trend, and that's where we excel too. So being able to do both, we can take care of any type of client.
Very cool. Yeah. And that's interesting. And so you guys are able to help clients all over the Triangle and beyond? Yeah,
we typically have an hour and a half radius of Raleigh as our service area right now, but we're starting to get commercial opportunities in Wilmington and other places. So if it makes sense for us to travel there, we will.
What else is getting you hyped up right now? What's getting you excited? What are you excited about moving forward?
I tell you, man, life is getting me excited. I think when I turned 50, I remember leading up to those weeks, man. I was expecting some grandiose thing you just turned 50 and you just feel different. I think what happens is you get to a point in your life, you want to look back and say, this is the legacy I'm leaving for my family. I want to be able to look back and say, I've done everything that I was able to. No regrets. We're all going to make mistakes, but my goal is to light a fire under myself for the next 20 years or so, to be able to accomplish everything that God gave me the ability to do. And I think I'm only scratching the surface, and that's why I say I'll be open to other things, because I don't think we've even started yet.
What are you working on to improve right now for yourself?
I was never a reader. And being old school, the whole podcast thing, just starting out with that's been great. You get hooked up with a couple of good podcast people, you start reading a book a month, and all of a sudden that level of knowledge starts to grow at a faster rate. I surround myself with like-minded people also. I try and find groups of people that are more successful, been around longer, that I can be a sponge on. But what I'm starting to realize is I'm getting to that stage of my career where I'm able to give back to younger entrepreneurs, and that's cool too. So I think by able to build an infrastructure with our company, it's going to allow me to spend a little bit more time doing those things, giving back, doing more things in the community.
Which then grows your business.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's not the driving factor, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I hear you there.
Yeah.
That's very cool, man. What are you reading right now? What's your next thing?
I'm reading Traction, and that's an interesting read. It opened my eyes to the things that we don't have in place for our company, just those simple things that these big companies have. Yep. I've always wanted to look bigger than what we really are. I want the logo to look bigger than what we are. I want to present ourselves bigger than what we are, because I think that always provides an opportunity for you to grow into that and beyond. And so we're going to be sitting down as a team in the next couple of weeks to start that process.
Yep. Do your operating system.
And I'm excited about it. I mean, it's a little geeky, but I think it's awesome. I think it's needed.
Yeah.
I think
it's an incredible process if you've not been through it at yourself. Anybody listening, watching, Traction's awesome because it forces you to come up with 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plans. It forces you to think about your complete operation from start to finish. It's awesome, and it hurts a little bit because you're like, oh, I'm not doing that.
Growing pains.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's it breaks down that ego pretty quickly.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's people that like yourself that I love to sit down with and learn from, because it's funny. It doesn't matter what age they are, how long they've been doing it. There's just some people that are gifted, and Gordon, you're gifted, man. You bring a lot to the table. What you've been able to do with Triangle Lawn Games and beyond, just your focus on various businesses that you're looking at. Now you're a real estate agent. Pumping your head up, right? But the thing is, I want to learn from anybody who's willing to share. And there's just, you're never going to get to a point in your life where you're not learning.
That's right. And that's what's so great about this group is that everybody in here is pretty powerful. They've got their own individual, unique skill sets, and we just need to learn from them. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. Tell us about how people can learn about your businesses and if they want to reach out, because we got to get rolling here into the meeting. But how can people learn about Regional and Garage Force?
Yeah, so garageforce.com is a great resource to get people started, and then regionalcarpetcare.com is another great start. We're in the process of revamping our regional facility website that's going to house all of that. But for right now, they're the two great places to go to. And obviously, would love to connect with anybody.
Awesome. We'll really appreciate you being on. You got any other questions, man?
I don't think so. I think you hit everything.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And just reminder, check out Regional, check out Garage Force. If you are looking to network, you want to tell people how they can
absolutely.
Get that?
So this podcast is an extension of the Purpose Networking Group that meets at Raleigh Founded every second, third, and fourth Wednesday of the month. The first Wednesday, we have a social in the evenings at Yard House in North Hills from 5 to 7. The morning meetings go from 8:30 to 9:30 roughly. And it's similar to a B&I style, but it's very, very different outlook and focus on what we call being the go-giver. Instead of what can I get is what can I give to everybody in the group. And that's what makes this group so exceptional, so different. It is something definitely worth checking out, even as a visitor if you don't plan on joining. I think there's power in networking, just like this whole conversation is alluded to. But this group is unlike any other, and we'd love to have you as a visitor any of those days. So
come on down.
out.
That's right. And make sure you follow us on YouTube at Purpose Podcast Raleigh. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes. Please like, please share. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and thank you, Rich.
All right, thanks, guys.